the death of Christ meant for us, it's easier to see that there's nothing we can do to earn that kind of forgiving love, right? Now, in the cross of Calvary, when we talk about the sacrifice, now the sacrifice must be what? The sacrifice must be blameless, right? Perfect, without blemish. And did Christ meet this criteria of being our sacrifice? Definitely. And if we look at the way salvation is taught in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, there's not much difference, right? There's no actually difference there. Because whether it is in Old Testament or in the New Testament, whether it is in Old and in the New Covenant, salvation is always by faith alone. Salvation is by faith alone. Our works doesn't have anything to do with our salvation. No matter how hard we try, we cannot earn that because we are all sinners. It only the righteousness that is only accepted before God is the righteousness of Jesus Christ. According to Mrs. White, when men and women can more fully comprehend the magnitude of the great sacrifice which was made by the majesty of heaven in dying in man's stead, then will the plan of salvation be magnified, and reflections of Calvary will awaken tender, sacred, and lively emotions in the Christian's heart. Now, when we think about that sacrifice that God made, when He left heaven to die for you and for me, I think that should be enough to what? To compel, not really to compel, but maybe to what? To awaken in us, okay, that lively and sacred emotion, right? You can just imagine when Christ was here on earth, He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? What does it mean? Okay? The separation of sin. That even the heart of Christ, He said that maybe this sin is so very loathsome in the sight of God that I cannot go back to heaven anymore. Right? Christ is that thought when He was on Calvary. And what else could we ask from Christ? Right? He is willing to risk His place in heaven for you and for me, doing that great sacrifice. And furthermore, it says, pride and self-esteem cannot flourish in the hearts that keep fresh in memory the sins of Calvary. All right? All the riches of the world are not of sufficient value to redeem one perishing soul. Who can measure the love of God, the love of Christ felt for the lost world, that He hung upon the cross, suffering for the sins of guilty men? This love was immeasurable, infinite. Okay? And Christ has shown that His love was stronger than death. He was accomplishing man's salvation, and although He had the most fearful conflict with the power of darkness, yet amid it all His love grows stronger and stronger. He endured the hiding of His Father's countenance until He was led to exclaim in the bitterness of His soul, my God, why hast Thou forsaken me?" The sins of Calvary call for the deepest emotion. Upon this subject, you will be excusable if you manifest enthusiasm that Christ, so excellent, so innocent, should suffer such a painful death, bearing the weight of the sins of the world, our thoughts and imaginations can never fully comprehend. Yes, we cannot fully comprehend how God would do that. The contemplation of the matchless depths of a Savior's love should fill the mind, touch and melt the soul, refine and elevate the affections, and completely transform the whole character. From the Testimonies for the Church, Volume 2, page 213. So what He endured for us even included, that's what I've said, the separation from His Father. And my God, and His cry, my God, why hast thou forsaken me, was to be our experience when our final judgment is declared and eternal death is our fate as sinners. Probably, right? If we will be lost, God forbid, okay? This will be our cry in the end. Why? Because this will be in eternal separation from God the Father. And that experience of Christ will also be the experience of those who will not be saved in the end. Okay, so, and He became our substitute, releasing us from the grips of eternal separation from God. So, how can I glory in the cross of Christ? Is the question here. How can we glory in the cross of Christ? Galatians 6:14. What does Galatians 6:14 says? Can you read? Okay, so how can we glory in the cross? Because God said, God forbid that I should boast, right? Except in the cross of Christ. How can we glory in the cross of Christ? Mm-hmm. Grateful and thankful for the sacrifice He had made for us, okay? That's one way of glory, of how we glory in the cross. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So the glory is only to God for what He has done. And we have nothing to glory about ourselves, right? Except for Christ, as what Galatians 6:14 is saying. Now, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, how do we glorify God? Mm-hmm. By following Him, okay. What this the Bible is saying? You are the light of the world. Okay, let your light what? So shine before men that they may see your good works and will what? Glorify your Father which is in heaven. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. It's not only that it's all faith. No, faith that doesn't have any work is dead, according to James. Right? So James is saying, "Show me your faith, and I'll show my faith with my works." Right? Okay? So it's a dead, I should say, what? Dead faith? And no faith at all. Okay, no faith at all. Dead faith. It's just the same, right? If it doesn't have any works in it, yeah, it's dead. Actually, it's dead, right? That is what James is saying. All right. Okay. Now let's move to the covenant and the sacrifice. First Peter 1, 18 and 19 says, "You know that you were ransomed from the futile ways inherited from your fathers, not with perishable things such as silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Christ, like that of a lamb without blemish or spot." So we're talking about Christ being our substitute and sacrifice, but he is also without spot and without blemish. That means he is perfect. Perfect substitute for sinners. So he was also, you were ransomed. Now, what does ransom means here? When we say ransom, I think it gets the idea from, our lesson is saying, from slaves being freed from bondage after a what? After a price had been paid. Right? So you are a slave. And then somebody paid a price so that you will be ransomed. And I think this is the idea that Peter is saying here.